Okay, in this video we're just going to talk about the Lumix live stream that they did today. And if you didn't know it was happening, they basically were doing kind of like a product live stream today. I kind of just assumed it was going to be a new full frame camera plus lens, but there are a few other bits in there, that you might find interesting, and I just thought I'd kind of run through, what was there. I'll link to this in the description, so obviously you can watch it, but I'll just do a quick recap of kind of what was in there. So one of the main parts of it really was there's going to be a new lens for the Lumix S9. So the 18 to 40mm lens is being released. It's like the smallest full frame AF lens they've done. But obviously the part of it I'm kind of more interested in is anything outside in the GH line, which sadly not one GH line camera gets a mention in this whole stream, which is a real shame, because some of the functionality that they're introducing is basically perfect for the GH line, and probably not that many other people would use it. So we'll just kind of run through and I'll kind of show you. So you can see outside of the S9, there was firmware updates announced for the G9m2, for the S5m2 and the S5m2X as well. So they kind of run through and they tell you about like the different things that are going to be added to there. And there's a couple, I'll just pick up like a couple of kind of key bits of it. So, you've got here just about the new lens for the S9. Obviously that can be used on any of the full frame cameras, any of the L mount cameras. And then there's a bit of like a update on the let me just see if I can grab the stills from it. They're doing some more colors for the S9. Again, not really something I'm super interested in, but I'm sure there are people out there who would be. They're removing the video record limit from it, so that's quite nice. There's like quite a lot of news around that. This feature was quite a nice update that's coming into the firmware update. So you've got frame markers we've talked about in videos before. I'll link to that feature if you don't know what this is and you've got a Lumix camera. It's really useful. But essentially what they've done is you used to just be allowed to apply one frame marker over an image. So if you were shooting widescreen and you wanted to get a vertical, you could kind of stick that vertical over the top, and then that would give you good crop marks for that. Obviously it's not burnt into the footage, it just gives you an idea of where your crop would be for a 16:9 to 9:16, for social and for standard YouTube, or just standard video delivery. But the one thing that kind of held that back a little bit is it's also sometimes nice to, you might be shooting slightly out of the 16:9 ratio, maybe 17:9. You might want to see where that 16:9 crop is. You might also want to see where a square crop is. So what they've done is they've added in the option to have multiple frame markers, and not only multiple, they're multiple frame markers that you can also color as well. So rather than it just being a big mess on the screen, you've actually got different markers that you can assign and make work. And I thought, oh great, that looks like a really great piece of functionality. But annoyingly, they've not brought it to the GH cameras, which are the ones where you would surely use it the most. It's got that 4x3 sensor, so it's the one that really can utilize frame markers the best for open gate. And it's a video-centric camera. People, you might tell me you are, but there can't be anyone out here using this for photography. It is a video feature, at least to me anyway, to my mind. It can be useful for, you can frame up where you want people to be and stuff like that. So it's useful in that sense, but you don't really need the multiple markers and things like that as such. There are still uses for it, but yeah, I really hope that does follow on to the GH line, because like I say, to my mind, that's crazy that it wasn't introduced to that line anyway. It doesn't have to be, just exclusive to that line, but to not introduce it to it at all, it seems bizarre. Like I don't think they understand like who uses what cameras. It just makes no sense at all. And then beyond that, like I say, hopefully that actually gets put into the cameras where people would use it. They've got new things for, you could probably just about see there there's some AF updates coming to a few of the cameras, like a few new subject detect bits and pieces, so that's quite useful. A big part of it was Lumix Lab updates. So before, there were no real control updates. It was almost more of a like a processing type app. And then for all your kind of control functions, you would need to have Lumix Sync as well. But Lumix Lab now, they've sort of officially said, will be taking over where Lumix Sync left off. So I'd imagine now that's sort of like, you know, the end of the road a little bit for Lumix Sync, at least for newer cameras. You know, Lumix Lab is going to be the one taking over, and all the functionality will eventually port into that. And you can kind of see here, there's some camera control functionality and things like that being brought into it, so that's quite nice, really. And then moving on, there were some updates to like the way LUTs and things like that work in Lumix Labs. So that's quite nice, you know, being able to just dip in, transfer them across into LUT libraries, and just some kind of improvements over the way it currently works, and being able to communicate with the cameras. And you know, a lot of that was from the S9, but now that's going to be carried over into the G9m2, S5m2, S5m2X. Again, no word on whether that would be carried over into the GH7, which you'd assume it would. It seems strange to just exclude that entirely. The GH6, unlikely, because it doesn't even have library support. So, you know, unless they actually built that into the camera, I can't see that ever getting it. I just don't think they will do that. You know, it doesn't seem like something that's worth their time to come back and kind of do that. And then the other thing was the Leica monochromes coming to S5m2 and Mark IIX. S9 and G9m2 already had it, so it was just getting carried over to the other ones. Again, there is no you know, no word of any of this stuff kind of coming into you know, GH line at all. Hopefully it will, but there was just no mention of it at all, which was a bit of a shame, really. And then sort of off the back, weirdly, they didn't even mention it in the video. I thought like the whole video was going to be about this. It was just, you know, really just like a firmware update live stream plus a couple of S9 features thrown in, you know, a couple of extra coloured camera bodies and things. And then, yeah, sort of off the back of it, there's this new S5D camera, which is slightly bizarre, to be honest. It's a DFD camera, so going back on from like everything PDAF now. They seem to have gone back to, you can see in here, it sort of uses the DFD there. I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong actually saying this, but yeah, I don't think it uses phase at all. It's just, so it's DFD, and then it's compatible with the DJI LiDAR rangefinder, which I believe quite a few of the old DFD cameras are anyway. But yeah, it sort of can be used in that way. But yeah, I don't really understand who this camera's for, to be honest. It's, you know, an S5 Mark II that's more expensive than the S5 Mark II. You know, maybe you could tell me in the comments if you kind of understand who this is for or what it is, but it's, yeah, it doesn't really make a great deal of sense to me that this is even a camera release, but it's there anyway regardless. But yeah, hopefully you kind of found that like helpful. If you have, give the video a like. If you want to see more content like this, check out the Lumix playlist on this channel, and please subscribe.